Check, 1, 2. All right. That's doing something on her phone. I did kind of turn the camera on without warning there. All right. Slow fade out for the music. Very nice. All right. All right, cool. Welcome to yet another live Rough Report. Oh, I got to move over more. I should put like tape marks on the carpet or something on where
that's a good idea.
You're supposed to go. All right.
I should also plug in my mic. Is it in?
Yes.
Yes, it's in.
Yeah, I can see the
Hate
meters.
it when you ask.
I can see. I could see the meters jumping.
Well, aren't I silly goose? I will go ahead and play in the pond.
Well, we're already off to a better start than I did last week when you had to bail on me because you accidentally got too high
I'm such
by
a lightweight.
drinking a cannabis drink.
It was 2.5%.
Yeah.
I thought I was safe.
Or no, 2.5 milligrams. I think was the THC in it. Yeah, and you still got looped by it.
I know.
And I drink like the 10 milligram ones, and I'm just like, yeah. Whatever.
Whereas I'm just like,
What was that?
I just turned all the way down.
Oh, okay. It's the okay. At first, I didn't know how to interpret that for a second, though.
You know, the roar.
As people do.
Yeah, as one does.
Yeah. Big nipple twister. Oh boy. Well, yeah, we're laughing an awful lot for a show where like our topics that we have lined up are pretty not funny.
Yeah, it's been a
most of our topics aren't very funny, but these in particular seem especially not funny.
Yeah, it's laugh or cry or.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, actually, let's start off with a bit of good news. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, we can let's do this.
Mm-hmm.
So this happened. What is it? A few days ago.
Time
just
is
a few days ago.
But
Okay.
it was recent, yeah.
So Doug Ford's canceled the Greenbelt deal and does this apology, non-apology. Actually, I should have queued up that video of what he actually says when he apologizes. I should probably pull that up. But yeah, honestly, to a certain degree, I am surprised that he actually canceled it. Because let's be honest here, if he just kept rolling on through, right? What would it change the outcome? Like
I think
at
it's
all?
because the OPP started investigating.
Well, the RCMP, no less. They took over the investigation.
Yeah, I think that's the only reason that he.
Yeah, but like, does that change anything for? Because like the criminal behavior still like happened, right? And they're still going to investigate that, right? Yeah. Like, so I don't see how it like changes anything. And even then, if they were or were not going to prosecute him, if he just kept going with it and it just happened to work out in his favor, that is extremely plausible. Yeah. So it especially, it's not an unearned arrogance in a way because like a lot of these conservative guys seem to know by now they can be a criminal as hell with a certain amount of impunity. Yeah. So, yeah.
Yeah, I think he realized that he reached the limit of criminality without accountability.
Just pushed that envelope a little too far. I wonder who convinced him. Like, did he convince himself? Did he realize that, like, once the information was put in front of him, that he fucked up?
No, I think there were lawyers involved.
Yeah, like advisors were like, "Listen, man, you don't understand how like actually fucked you might be."
I think that's more likely.
Yeah.
every time we're filming this, I always start playing with your pics because I'm just like, yay.
You're wearing them wrong. You're wearing them like you're like Michelle Pfeiffer Catwoman with the
literally
with her like hook attached.
Literally, yes.
So I guess not wrong, just differently.
Just not for their original
not
intention.
for their intended purpose. Yeah.
Yeah.
You're being imaginative. I appreciate that.
I'm just being tactile.
Tactile?
Yeah, because because I always have, if I have things to play with my hands, then I'm happy. Because otherwise, I'm playing games on my phone or.
This military-grade mosquito zapper is taking the world by storm.
Is it taking the world by storm? I hate YouTube ads. YouTube seems to have caught on to ad blocker. They finally I don't know, found a way to be annoying about it anyway. So yeah, let's. No, I don't want to pay for premium. Why would I want we already got so many subscriptions. What do we need YouTube Premium for? Like,
because otherwise we'll bombard you with the ads.
With the birds. Bombard with the birds. Exactly. Yeah. All right, I gotta stop smoking weed before the show.
See, I made them. This is why I can't smoke, because I get high.
But I can at least stay awake and handle my shit.
And
last week I was pretty high on the show too, and I think I lost what I was saying a couple times. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I can't function. I'm not one of those functional
people. I'm not one of those functional people. Just generally speaking.
My friends, I want to address.
Okay, I've already got to pause it because he kills me with this. The my friends and the folks and
the events of this past week.
Are you gonna share the screen or just the audio?
Oh,
last Friday, in response to extremely troubling modeling that told us we could see well over 15,000 cases a day. We move fast to put in measures in place to reduce.
Oh, this is the wrong apology video.
I was going to say, I'm like, you fucking what?
See, it seems to end up having to apologize a lot. But this, if I remember correctly, this was an apology in the wrong direction.
I don't know.
I think it was apologizing for the fact that lockdowns happened. And
for an apology video. Fuck, you're gonna be scrolling for days.
I'll have to specify Greenbelt.
There we go. 3 days ago.
Our caucus. They share.
That's a great opener to our caucus.
You are caucus, aren't you?
My cock is hanging out behind this podium.
Peeking out there.
Have heard in their communities.
Like that police academy scene.
I want the people of Ontario to know I'm listening.
Okay, Fraser.
I'm listening to my lawyers.
Yeah.
That I wouldn't touch the Greenbelt.
I'm not allowed to touch any belts.
He touched below the Greenbelt.
Yeah.
I'm very, very sorry.
My lawyer tells me to act really very sorry. To the developers I sold to and took your money.
To open the Greenbelt.
Yeah, I'm very sorry.
It was a mistake.
Please don't put cement booties on me.
Yeah.
That moved too fast. This process, it left too.
That was the problem with it, right?
Yeah.
Just that it went too fast.
It was too.
It's just too fast. This is all moving so quickly.
Yeah.
It's a little much for me.
Yeah. Not the fact that it moved at all.
Yeah. No, the fact that, even before the criminality of it, right? We had Dougie Ford saying, we're not going to touch the Greenbelt. Don't worry, folks. Don't worry, my friends.
Yeah.
We won't touch the Greenbelt.
Don't worry, kitchen tables and gorillas.
Did I miss something there? Is that a reference?
Just during all the COVID thing, everything's on the table. I don't know. Something about an 800-pound gorilla. I can't keep up.
Oh, okay.
The gorilla's on the table, folks. I don't know.
He said something like that?
No, it's just references to a gorilla, and I can't remember why or.
Okay, he made some reference to a gorilla.
There's gorillas involved in the kitchen.
Anybody knows what Dad is talking about? Do us a favor.
Everyone knows there are gorillas in the kitchen.
Yeah.
Gorillas in the mist.
Gorillas
Gorillas in the
don't
Greenbelt.
fry in the kitchen. Okay. I'm totally lost what I was talking. We got way off topic there, folks. We're frying gorillas in the kitchen now.
Yes. And we're sorry.
Harambe. At least we used 100% Harambe. I'm still making a Harambe joke in 2023, apparently. How many years ago was that? No.
I don't know, 2016.
Ancient history.
Let's say 2016.
It's the only cultural reference I have for a gorilla now. Coco is a thing of the past. Coco's gone.
No.
So now we have Harambe, who is also gone, but not in meme form. He's back in meme form. God damn it. But yeah, like him saying alone about, okay, we're going to touch the Greenbelt now. We're going to do the Greenbelt thing.
Yeah.
We said before we weren't going to
Not
do
just
the
that,
Greenbelt
but
thing.
like it's already been done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the
FYI,
balls-
it's already done.
Sorry, we just totally went back on our word there. That alone pissed a lot of people off.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Obviously. But the criminality of it, the blatant criminality of it, is what's got him, saying he's
listening to his lawyers.
Yeah, listening to his lawyers. Because at no other point, like, in all the stupid stuff that Dougie has said and done, has he ever, like, kind of sounded quite like this?
Yeah.
He was advised by somebody to say all this. Yeah, I think you're right.
Oh,
Too much room for some people to benefit over others. It caused people to question our motives. As a first step to earn back your trust, I'll be reversing the changes we made and won't make any changes to the Greenbelt in the future. Because
they told
even
me
if
to.
you do something for the right reasons,
Shut
with the
up.
best of intentions,
Which was not the case here.
it can still be wrong.
Best of intentions.
Yeah.
I'm being clear.
I did everything right, and they indicted me.
Literally. Oh, goodness gracious. Fucking shitty fuck.
I got to get that line on a soundbite that I could just hit a button.
Ooh.
Yeah. I did everything right, and they indicted
I've got
me.
like 20 buttons that I need you to.
Oh God, it's such a great delivery. I can't get over it still. Every time I think about it, the up and down of the inflection is just
just the musicality of it.
Yeah.
You fucking cunt. Yeah.
Believe that opening the Greenbelt could make a big difference. That it would build
to my pocketbook.
50,000 new homes
in my pocketbook,
housing a minimum of 150,000 people.
Yeah, cool. Because our province is so tiny that the only option was on the
We made
Greenbelt.
the wrong decision. The truth remains, Ontario's growing at an unprecedented speed.
Mm-hmm.
And doing more of this.
No, the speed is precedented. The speed is pretty precedented.
I mean,
like I don't think
it's big leading a lot. But here's the thing, though. So the other weekend when I went up to visit family, I took a little detour through Pembroke, and it just reminds me of how much fucking space is already developed that is vacant or derelict. And so just the idea that the green belt were where we grow our food for these unprecedented population growths.
Very, very good point.
So like using the green belt as opposed to a lot of these towns that were decimated by closing down factories and such, because like Renfrew County, it's a farming and it's an industrial county, and so there is still out there a lot of areas that are built up. Now, I'm not saying that, we should necessarily close down manufacturing plants and then rejig them specifically into housing. I don't know if environmentally that would even be feasible, because, I'm not sure with steel plants and that what the environmental impact is. So I'm not saying anything like that. I'm saying that these communities are already built up, that already have hospitals, that already have, roads and wastewater facilities, yada, yada, yada. These are logical areas to develop, right? Where you don't need to actually go out and just pummel like 500 acres of forest or farmland. Like, it's completely nonsensical. Drive through small towns in Ontario and you will see a lot of opportunities to develop where people already fucking are. But also where the population density isn't massive yet. Whereas you have these sprawling idiocies around Canada. Like, I was bitching with you when we were driving the other day down Terry Fox south of Hazeldean, where all these complexes are coming up of, these townhomes, and the roads getting to and from make no fucking sense. And there's no new hospitals to accommodate these people. And like, I can keep anding all fucking day about, all the houses that are there and all the resources that are not.
Yeah.
Like, I'm just not even getting into public transit.
It's so like absolutely car centric, right?
Not
just that. That's
if it
just
were
like it's such an aspect of it.
If it were car centric and done well,
yeah,
to accommodate all those cars, because it is certainly not public transit.
If you need to get to a hospital, well, yeah. If you need to get if you need to essentially get anywhere, you're gonna not only have to drive, but drive a freaking distance. So yeah,
this is drive a freaking distance through roads that aren't rated for that volume of traffic.
Yeah.
Like, some of these areas have 80-kilometer-an-hour signs, but they're two-way. And it's not even that, they're two-way because they're going through active farmland and protected waterways and stuff like that. It's just poorly fucking planned. Like, there's all this space at the side of the road that's already been, kind of developed, and yet it's just two lanes to going in and out. And so if you got one person, and I'm just gonna rant about the city planning or lack thereof of around like Stittsville and Canada and stuff.
I had, it might have been this article, where basically it describes that Doug Ford, like, the Greenbelt was not a necessity. There was already plenty of lands sited elsewhere that would have been perfectly fine for development. So yeah, it's not even necessary at all. No. So but on top of that, like, as I was saying, I was just reading recently that in terms of like our growing numbers as a country, a lot of what we had isn't unprecedented, or if anything, it's starting to decline sharply to the point where, like, people are immigrating here less, and we're actually getting less people than what we were anticipating moving forward or projected for the near future. Yeah.
Are you sure? I would look at those numbers.
Here, let me see if I can actually find something on that.
Yeah, because it's entirely plausible. There's that just the areas where they're being brought in as a result between So is that?
That's
only permanent residents, though.
Yeah, permanent residents. I don't know how much that's reflected, but I wish I could remember
Yeah, I think you're gonna
exactly
have to
this.
go
Yeah,
back on those
I'll
numbers.
have to, but go back over that. But either way, it's not like
Mhm.
we didn't know that this was an escalating problem for many years.
And that's the thing
You
too,
know.
is that a lot of post-secondary institutions are getting in shit for bringing in a bunch of international students, but not having any place for them to fucking live.
That's it. This is what I was the wording that I was looking for. Yeah, residency applications fall sharply. So it basically the going criticism is that like people looking to immigrate to a different country or live in a different country for different jobs and different opportunities are now recognizing or being told, or word is getting out, however you want to put it, that Canada isn't exactly bustling with opportunities, and maybe you don't want to look at going there. And this is, of course, against our interest as a country. There's a lot of people who, conservatives mostly, who use immigration as sort of like a culture war tool. But ultimately, even they know that Canada needs immigrants for our economy to continue to grow.
Yeah, and that's the thing, is that, you know, they want immigrants' money, but they don't want, with the rise in population, to invest in infrastructure.
Yeah.
It's like, you know, they want their cake, and they want their cake to have bootstraps and pull themselves up by
So
it.
this sort of thing is going to have consequences, and like, not to mention, like, you moved to Canada, good luck getting a house. You know, good luck being able to pay your rent, because
Good luck getting a
Canadians
doctor.
themselves can barely do it.
Yeah.
That the word tends to get out about that, and if you're facing those sort of struggles in your own country already, well, what's the point in looking elsewhere? That's a great move, fascists. You know, if you really wanted to turn down immigration, I got a great idea to keep those immigrants out. We'll make this place suck shit. That'll really
Square one for fascism.
You got us there. You got us there.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
You really stuck it to him on that one.
Yeah. By them, I mean your own face. I don't know. But yeah, so speaking of fascism, on Wednesday, there was big old protests all around. So did you have something?
We're hopping away from the Greenbelt thing already?
I mean, we've already been on it for like 20 some odd.
Okay. All right. No, that's why I'm asking. I was like, do we want to see any more of Dougie, you know,
God, no.
talking over?
Jesus Christ, no. Like at this cadence, you know, I already watch YouTube videos at 1.5 speed.
And
so trying to listen to him at regular speed, knowing there's 28 more minutes of
well,
this.
yeah, we don't have to, I wasn't going to watch the whole 20 minutes. But
No.
yeah, the cadence of him talking like this, it's he had a bit of a Shatner thing going on.
Nah, I'm going to pass.
Okay. So we're on to the Million March for Kids, or Million March for Children. There's a douchebag red hat. Like, again, I've been hammering on this note the past few weeks. We made it a major topic, but like every time there's some sort of political slogan or banner to march under that the U.S. right wing conjures up, the Canadian right wing months later, or maybe even years later, has to adopt it and just make it lamer and more dumb.
Yeah.
And here's this douchebag in a Save Canada red hat, a la Make America Great Again.
It makes me think of
Save Canada from what? What do you know? Like from the communist Trudeau? Like, goddamn! As a socialist, I wish Justin Trudeau is a communist.
legit, absolutely. That would just
we'd be delighted.
yeah. I mean,
You know?
I'd be like, finally.
I'd have no criticism of the guy. Instead, these guys are so insane that I find myself having to defend Justin Trudeau more often than not.
Which you can't imagine how fucking frustrating it is for someone who is not down with neoliberalism to have to fucking defend that fucking guy.
It's not even so much defend him as just like state what is real and actually happened.
Yeah.
You know, it's not even like an ideological or interpretive thing. It's just like literally what you're saying didn't happen, and we have to point that out.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway.
Yeah, and so I want to point out a couple things on this whole thing. So now these rallies, they set themselves up as being parents concerned about children against, something for parents' rights to be able to raise their kids however they want. So why in the holy fuck are they protesting schools who are in charge of all the children and who parents already are able to sign their kids out of going into sex ed?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's always been a thing.
Yeah.
Right? Like you can always opt out of this.
Yeah, and so like they're upset with schools, saying that schools are turning the kids trans and gay and operating on them and stuff. Like some folks are, super concerned about, there being gender reassignment surgeries performed on infants and toddlers and stuff. And it's just like, my dudes, schools can't even take kids on a field trip without parental permission. How the fuck do you think that they're getting the kids gender reassignment surgery? Mm-hmm. It's like, what are you actually talking about? Like these things, it's like saying A plus B equals orangutan.
Well,
none of this makes
they always have to like move the goalposts like that, right? Because before
there's two dudes who have two goalposts and they're running in different directions.
Yeah, they're just they have to keep that moving all the time because if they didn't, it's really easy to point out where the fault is. Hey, look. Where you're standing right now, it's really easy to score this goal because you're so wrong, and allow me to point that out. Oh, we gotta keep moving.
Yeah, and so like,
this time last year, or even a year before that, what was it? The real like going rumor amongst these morons was that they had the litter boxes in the classrooms.
Well,
and there's a bunch of these idiots eating that up. Of course, the greater public wasn't going to latch onto that one. It was too stupid, outlandishly and obviously silly, and there was no way they were going to be able to produce any evidence of that, or at least evidence that was believable / real. Yeah. So they had to give up that one. So they're slightly redefining things all the time, and it's much harder when you move the goalposts over to something like they're giving reassignment surgery. They're doing these medical things because, medical is private, right? Like the medical information is private, and people are a little more sensitive about that sort of thing. So the tendency to dig into that and have data that is going to either support or negate your beliefs, it's a lot dodgier. Yeah. So people are going to maybe believe it a little bit more, or not be able to disprove it. Yeah,
well, it cuts into this crunchy granola parent thing of like, I know what's best for my kids. I need to know what's going on with my, make sure that nothing happens to my children. Like they can't eat vaccines and they can't shoot gluten because, I'm in charge of that stuff. But it's so funny that they say stuff like parents' rights when, again, if it's parents' rights and kids need parental consent for any kind of medical intervention, does that mean that you're against parents choosing to help their kids with finding gender-affirming care? Yeah. Because, like, the teachers aren't going behind your back and transing your kids.
Well, and we know that's, like, the next step anyway. And that's already an argument that's coming up is should we allow this medicine for these children, even if parents support it? This is already on the table, so the play is obvious. It's not about concern for parents' rights or even concern for child safety, right? Because they're willing to go, oh, you're a parent that approves of your child's transition. Well, you're obviously an unfit parent. We're going to take that child away. And
and the thing is that they're and when I say they, I'm starting with the big they of the transphobic, anti-queer folks pulling the levers.
Yeah.
But the idiots who buy this stuff, they are just swept up into a tizzy, thinking that, something bad and nefarious is happening to their kids, without understanding what literally any of these words mean.
Yeah.
Like gender affirming care. They're like, oh, they're affirming their gender. This is terrible. This is obviously something bad. Like getting a haircut is gender affirming care. Yeah. Like me buying mascara as a cis woman is gender affirming care. Just so many things that we do in our day to day is gender affirming. But if a cis person does it, then it's invisible. But they're able to use that as like scary words. Yeah. And things like puberty blockers. Most people don't understand what those do. Any kind of sexual reassignment surgery does not happen to minors. It hardly happens to adults because of the wait lists and the hurdles that one has to go through. It is easier to get your cis 16-year-old daughter breast augmentation surgery than for a trans adult to get any kind of sexual reassignment surgery.
100%.
Because in part because there are so few options in Canada for where you can get this gender affirming medical transition care, unless you're paying out of pocket. And even if you're paying out of pocket, like these things, these folks behind the curtain, as well as the ones that have bought in to this stupidity. They're railing at terms that they don't understand, and they understand so little of it. They don't know what questions that they should ask, or even that they should ask questions. It's just that reactionary, oh, children, my God, won't somebody please think about the children? But they don't think past step one of what does any of this actually mean, if these claims could even stand a chance of being true. Like, what would that look like? And so they're talking about sexual orientation and gender identity in schools. Like,
indoctrination. Like literally teaching kids that stuff exists.
Yeah.
Is harmful indoctrination. Like, this is the same crowd of people who are just like, they in their Facebook and Twitter handles and stuff talk about how like truth teller, truth seeker, you gotta wake up, sheeple, but I hate being woke at the same time. It's that sort of like same people going, oh, you want to teach about stuff that is in real life. No, I'm going to firmly stand against that.
Yeah. And it's not even, and the folks that are all up in arms about, these, the sex education curriculum, they could not hit the curriculum on the broadside of a barn. Like, they don't even know what any of it includes. The only idea they have is it's called sex ed, therefore clearly it's gonzo porn, and they're just skating all over the place, all over those fucking schools.
What do they think this is? Like that Monty Python scene in the Meaning of Life where the teacher brings his wife into the class and onto the bed in the classroom. Simply insert a penis into the vagina like so. Like what did they?
It's cuckoo bananas. Like the fact that any sex education in schools is age appropriate, but also this isn't just brought out by this stranger Sal in the alleyway who is peddling curriculum. Like this has been studied. Like this. Oh my God. Like this. One of the I'm talking at slight vagaries right now. one of the arguments, because trust, I was arguing with people this past week.
Okay, sorry. Here, I just wanted to touch on this real quick. Lethbridge March also highlighted the Sexual Orientation and Gender Identity 123 program in Alberta and British Columbia, aimed at providing educators with tools for inclusivity towards LGBTQ2 community. Shell Landry spoke in favor of the event, saying schools don't provide parents an opt-out option or transparency regarding what she calls the adult-themed content being taught. Now, this is the thing. It's not like teaching people that people exist that you're going to see on the street in real life and interact with in completely non-sexual circumstances.
No.
You are going to meet people like this. You are going to interact with people like this. And these are the linguistic tools on how to properly address those people. And it's kind of no different than saying, some people are black, some people are Asian. We should refer to them colloquially as black and Asian because we generally recognize these things as the going respectful terms. So don't refer to them as, slurs. It's those sort of tools in order to be inclusive and have people have a certain base amount of respect for people that aren't exactly like them. So to label this as somehow pornographic, to label this as adult-themed content is so absurd, but somehow seems to pack a certain plausible deniability to people where they're like, yeah, this is adult themed. And it's like, so
literally no.
Literally no. And the only thing that's adult themed in your mind is this sort of underlying homophobia of, gay people exist, therefore sex, and therefore, dicks and fucking and whatever else. And that, like, oh, straight people exist is all that exists. You making babies. Is that all you're doing 24/7? You pervs.
Yeah,
making your babies. Like, what?
Yeah, well, it's like, the introduction of sex ed doesn't mean showing fifth graders basic instinct. Like, that's not teaching about heterosexuality, and so. It's not.
You get the really purposefully gross-looking medical diagrams and stuff, Yeah,
and that's the thing too, is that for anyone who has worked with children and worked in areas around sexual violence, we know that one of the ways to protect children is if they have proper medical terminology for their bodies so that they can talk about it, right? So if there's a problem and they need medical help, or if someone's trying to act inappropriately to them, that they have the language.
And abusers and people in power who put themselves in those positions of power so they can abuse with a certain impunity. They absolutely know this.
Yeah.
They know this.
Yeah.
It is essentially part of their entire thing to know this.
Yeah. And that's the thing too with, the one of the messages of these Million Mom March something, is that, parents' rights. Well, in this context, that is horrifying because trying to keep children ignorant of their biology and of consent and, right from wrong is just a perfect way for either religious or family abuse to just proliferate, right? Like incest is very, very much still a problem and a horrifying thing. And so trying to keep children in the dark about their bodies and about their rights to their bodies under the banner of parents' rights. I own my children.
Them. Yeah.
Not even that. Just I own my children. I own their choices. All of this is horrifying. All of this leaves children open to so many opportunities for abuse when they're taught that they have no choices, and that everything that they're able to learn about and subject to is completely at the whims of their parents, regardless if their parents, know their ass from their elbow.
Yeah, and that is to say that doesn't mean that it's always right when, the state, so to speak, interferes in parents' lives. There's certainly examples of, child services and stuff being involved when they probably shouldn't have, and have overstepped when they probably shouldn't have. So it's like people's paranoia and complicated feelings about that in many respects I can understand. But to completely turn around and no, so the only solution is to 180, right? Like, oh, I don't trust the government to be able to intervene responsibly in order to protect these children. Therefore, government is bad, parents' rights 100%. Like, you're obviously not being reasonable if that is your way of thinking. Something I've said recently as well is, if the start of your politics is government bad, and no matter what shape that takes, you're going to end up on far right reactionary positions.
100%. Yeah.
And it's just another example of that. Oh, you trust the government to educate your kids. You trust the government to interfere when parents may or may not be abusive. And it's just like, no, these are complicated questions that deserve being asked, and the government needs to be held to account just as much as, parents should be, and how well they're treating their children. It's not one way or the other. It's that, we need to scrutinize and make these systems better.
And not let them sell off the Greenbelt.
Yeah. And that starts with, we can all agree and collect the evidence. And if you look at the evidence as a responsible, reasonable-minded person, that might be a lot to ask, and say, look, when children are educated on this in matters of like what their body parts are, what their basic anatomy is, even just how babies are made, if they're taught that at the right age, that sort of thing. This knowledge protects them and helps them shape healthier outcomes of what sex and sexuality is, rather than making them, feel feelings of guilt and repression about those things. And if they are traumatized or abused in some way, the tools that help them express and deal with it and hold criminals responsible. And so there's all these layers to it, where we have this data and we know that this improves outcomes. So if we can agree on that, we can agree that the government can do a good thing here and say children should know this and we need to teach it to them.
Yeah. And even knowing that, and even understanding that we have a responsibility to the children to provide this education, parents still get the option to sign their kids out when they're having sex ed class.
And in regards to, like I was just saying with the, no opt-out for, these teachings, these adult-themed teachings, that's obviously rhetorical garbage, because just acknowledging that other people exist, that,
literally,
your friend in class might have two dads. Like when he says, I don't have a mom, and you're like really confused about what that even means, right? Knowing that there's some families that just have two dads, right? Nothing sexual being mentioned about it. Just that's their family existing. They're against that being taught.
They want to opt out of
they want to opt out of existence, because they want that's ultimately the homophobic underlying point, obviously, is they want gay people to be opted out of existence.
Which I am obviously biased against.
I have a few complicated feelings about that.
I would prefer to exist. So I'm just gonna have to say nah.
So, but the one thing I want to point out in this thing here is there were counter protesters, and in some places the counter protesters were outnumbered. In many places the counter protesters outnumbered these fascist assholes, and that's great. And I think generally, from what I saw, in most cases, the hate marchers, let's call them,
Mhm.
were outnumbered.
Yes.
I think like in a couple places like Alberta and stuff, I heard that they were the queers were badly outnumbered and being badly harassed.
Mhm.
Horrifying
Mhm.
to think about, and how much gall it would have took for somebody in that situation to stand their ground.
Mhm.
It's hard to fathom. So good for them for doing it. I'm glad they're, as far as I know, all safe.
Mhm.
Yeah, but
But we got to do more of this
Yeah.
counter protesting, this
Mhm.
protesting. I mean, we need a general strike,
Mhm.
and we need to make sure that every single place
Yeah.
that fascists show up, that they don't show up unopposed, because we know.
this is a line that just can't be crossed. If there's
Yeah.
something that we're really going to be like hard nosed about, it's got to be something like this, because you know, if you want to talk about slippery slopes, this is where it starts to be. This is where it starts. You target some ostensibly outlying group
Mhm.
and take away their rights and start to use them as a stepping stone of enforcing your policy further and further.
Mhm.
That's the goal. That's the game. And so, yeah, it will just be more hate. It's in you know, that classic poem, but in this case, it's starting with first they came for the transgenders.
Well, they already
You know.
came for the sex workers.
Yeah, and they've already, the Sex Workers Act, anti-sex worker legislation.
Yeah,
is
Fosta Sesta.
Yeah. So you know,
So, like, yeah, they will use terminology to make it seem like they're coming at you for your own good, but
protecting the children.
protecting the children,
It's
protecting
so-
sex workers from
yeah,
themselves.
It's peak like the Helen Lovejoy thing. Won't somebody please think of the child? That's the entire joke of that, because every time she
Yeah.
says that,
Mhm.
she is obviously not thinking of the children, right? She's thinking of herself and her own sensibilities and
Yeah.
being pearl clutchy about that. That's the entire joke. And now we have
Sex cauldron. I thought they closed that place down.
and well, now we have tons of people just not hearing themselves, apparently, not hearing the Helen Lovejoy within
Yeah.
themselves as they cry about protecting the children.
Yeah.
It's just like, you know, yeah, I guess they didn't really let that satire sink in. And I find it hard to believe that they don't know about that reference, because I feel like everybody does. Certain Simpsons things are just so ubiquitous
Yeah.
in pop culture that, like, how do you not know? But yeah, like it's I don't know, especially for people in our age group,
Mhm.
watching them grow up to kind of have these sensibilities, and knowing the day and age we grew up in,
Mhm.
you know, and watching the progress sort of happen little by little. It's like every year,
Mhm.
certain things from a social progressive point of view were getting better, right? There was this certain optimism rolling through where it's like, yeah, it's bad, but you know, there's all these reasons to think it's getting better.
Mhm.
And then and seeing most people in my age group when we were young be on board with that.
Mhm.
And now we're at this point where, yeah, they become, just somehow reactionary or aloof, or, you know.
Mhm. Yeah, and that's why when we see fascists step out like this, we need to counter them, because ignoring them has not worked. They've become emboldened, and they're organized. Like these astroturfing organizations, 1 million Martial Children. Like this isn't.
They got evangelical money behind them.
Yeah, this isn't some big sale mom and pop organization.
This is super grassroots
Yeah.
stuff we're talking about. Yeah, there's dark lobbying money involved in this sort of thing.
Yeah, and so you need to keep pushing back, because they're trying to find out the areas where we will give them an inch, and they will take that inch, and they will keep taking.
Yeah.
And so we need to keep showing up. because this won't get better just with thoughts and prayers. Like, we need to show up, and we need to push back.
Especially when, you know, I it's bad enough I can imagine adults, right, being willful participants in this bigotry, but some of the stuff I've seen where it's kids holding up.
And that is exactly
signs.
why you need this Soji stuff in schools, because, my God, the bullying, fucking shit. I'm so blessed that I didn't have social media when I was a kid, because I was already bullied when I was young. I couldn't imagine having to deal with, like,
and
the
that's
powers
when it
of the
should
internet
become
behind it.
obvious to people who aren't, you know, on the extreme right of this, to know that it's not about protecting kids. Because if it was, you'd be concerned about the gay kids too, right? Like, you'd be concerned about their well-being, right? But if that isn't a concern to you, and you're just like, no, this is something like that we have to enforce, then maybe it isn't the well-being of children that's the top of your priority. But, you know, saying that to them doesn't matter much. They aren't swayed by that sort of
Most because they
noting of hypocrisy, and
they don't care if queer trans kids die.
And that's why you just oppose them. Like, you know, I was it somebody on Twitter today, somebody who was in support of, you know, I'm not even going to repeat what the exact subject matter was, but somebody in support of something that, let's just say, is heinous enough that it's not worth debating. And where you're just like, nope.
You suck.
I'm not having this argument. No. Oh, it's because you can't prove me wrong. Nope. I'm not doing it. Not having this debate. Oh, you've already given up. You're a coward. You're in favor of oppression because you can't defeat my ideas. No. There are absolutely certain things where have enough respect for yourself to not debate them. You know?
That's like showing up doesn't mean that you need to give all of your energy and mental health to the internet. I mean physically showing up.
And that's what and that matters way more. It matters so much more. There's nothing you're going to say online that is going to have as much impact as just showing up to an event.
Because the thing too is that while they may potentially bust some people in for some protests, they can't fabricate out of thin air 10,000 Russian bots to show up to an actual event.
And that's why you're seeing these people outnumbered in real life, is because a lot of the people who create the big hoopla online and retweet and like and all this sort of stuff, they're not actual people, so to speak. And so when you get these people out in the light, I'm sure there's a lot of them that are just apathetic and would rather stay in the dark, and they aren't going to show up in person. Sure, there's going to be a certain number of that, but you know, the numbers don't lie, right? Like the tens of thousands that you see, that obviously just they're not real people. And that, again, that's another reason to just simply not engage with their shit and just say, you know what, you're wrong. You can call me whatever you want, because what you stand for and what you believe in is so fucking heinous that I don't think what you think is going to affect me at all, like as a person. Like, you know, oh, I'm a coward. Yeah,
cool
great. This completely awful piece of human garbage that I've hated every second of interacting with thinks I'm bad. Wow. How will I ever move on with my life?
If I couldn't convince him, if I couldn't convince him that I'm good or that I'm right, then
who is this person? They could be just fucking, like, they could be having a laugh.
They could just had taken a shit. Like
they could be a totally different kind of loser than what you're thinking of, right? Like sure, they're a loser that believes in this awful belief. No, they're a different kind of loser that pretends to believe the awful thing in order just to get a rise out of people, because it's spending hours doing that for some reason is funny. So either way, have enough respect for yourself to not do that. And move on with your life.
Value your time.
Value your time. And just actually show up. It was like a bit of a debate I had earlier this week too with a couple of people where they were like, the criticism that a lot of your middle of the road, ineffectual liberals are showing up to,
Protests.
the counter protests to, and they're on the right side, but they're in it for themselves. They're in it for advancing neoliberal policy. They just want to adopt the culture aspects and not do any of the economic foundations. However you want to unpack that box.
Mm-hmm.
The general criticism that they're not really our allies.
Mm-hmm.
And to be really cautious and skeptical about that. Yeah, again, that's just like empty online bullshit, because you know what? They showed up.
Mm-hmm.
They showed up.
Yeah.
They put their bodies where their words are.
Yeah.
And that is always going to matter more. Debating these people, it doesn't defeat them. Showing up.
Yeah.
And saying, this is the stand. This is where is where this ends.
And doing the
that
whole,
does something.
Yeah, and doing the whole no true Scotsman, no true leftman. This doesn't help, right?
No.
So it just sets in a sense of anxiety of like, fuck, am I doing things perfectly? If not, what if I don't do anything? It's bad
okay
too.
to not do
what if
things perfectly?
And that's the thing, is that,
or at
like,
least it should be understood that it's okay. But yeah, you have so many armchair analyzers.
Yeah. Because that's the thing, is that in the process of learning and trying to do anything, you're gonna do things wrong.
Mm-hmm.
That's how we learn. That's how things happen, right? If you only do things once you are 1,000% certain that you've covered every single angle, Jesus Christ, you're 90 years old and your life has passed you by. Like, you can't wait until you have it all perfect.
Mm-hmm.
You have to do the best you have in the moment with what you with what you know at that time.
Right.
But to just, poo-poo people who are in that journey of figuring things out and are, stumbling through it, shut the fuck up.
Yeah. It's
Like,
another
maybe
reason
be
not
helpful,
to listen
right?
too much to that online chatter, because there's always going to be some the lefter than thou kind of leftist who always puffing their chest, always knowing what is best. I didn't mean to make a rhyme there, but there's always going to be that kind of person who just wants to be the loudest voice in the room and be the most right, despite
And the
having
most left.
zero stakes in the game.
Or even if they have great stakes in the game.
Yeah.
Like, I understand if you have really super important, valid stakes in the game. It's just, if your only contribution talking to people is to let them know they're doing everything wrong, how can they ever get everything right if they're not even allowed to make mistakes? Right? Like, you make one mistake and then it's over for you, then you've screwed everything up. This that you're showing right now, this is a pretty big mistake.
It is a big screw up. Okay, so moving on from the Million March here. But there's just layers of fucked upness with this. It's going to be our last topic because we're already hitting the hour. But basically, okay, so like to even start with, our entire foreign policy in approach to the Ukraine-Russian war that's currently happening is questionable. I am of the position simply that Russia is wrong for invading. That's kind of, I have that definitive thing. I think Russia is the most wrong in this situation. Aside from, your problem with Ukrainian Nazis, Azov Battalion, all that stuff, which Canada has been pretty inadequate, and the U.S. as well, basically NATO in general, has been pretty inadequate about even just like paying any lip service to in terms of trying to curb that narrative. And that I obviously have criticisms of. So for this to happen, on top of all that, Zelensky gives a speech in our House of Commons, right?
Because he's visiting Canada right now.
He's visiting Canada.
I don't know if he's gone back.
What is it? Here, I'll put it up on the big screen here. This is from Twitter user the Canada Files. Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelensky and Canada's Prime Minister Justin Trudeau recognize Yaroslav Hunka, who was in attendance and fought with the 1st Ukrainian Division in World War II before later immigrating to Canada, in the House of Commons on Parliament Hill on Friday. Now, how I saw this, and like another thing is like, congratulating this war hero who fought against Russians during World War II, and I just like that immediately made me stop.
So here's the thing: is that so he sent this to me, being like, "Do you see this?" And I'm like, "Yeah," and not with this headline, just with what
I just mentioned.
Yeah, just with what he just mentioned, and I'm like, "Yeah, I don't understand."
Yeah, you're not putting that together.
No,
fighting
not at all.
the Russians in World War II.
See, that's one of the things is that like if I made that mistake as some random schmuck, I'm not a big World War II or any history buff, and so I willingly admit that I have these gaps in my understanding and knowledge. I don't work for the government of Canada, organizing who we're going to be.
So like, they were able to quickly put together that Yaroslav Hunka, who fought for the 14th Division of the Waffen SS, he a literal Nazi. Literal Nazi, not just like, how we tend to describe racists and fascists in the modern context.
Who just aspire to be Nazis.
Who aspire to be Nazis or are Nazi-like. No, I'm not talking about that sort of general terminology.
Yeah.
Literal, card-carrying, outright Nazi.
Yeah.
And they invited this guy and congratulated him and gave him sort of like this sort of like hero's moment, right?
Yeah.
Zelensky's speech received at least a dozen standing ovations. There was also one for this man,
this fucking Nazi.
A 98-year-old Ukrainian Canadian who fought for Ukrainian independence against the Russians during the Second World War.
Can you pause that for a second?
So that again, that framing right there.
Yeah. So when he sent it to me, that was the framing, and I'm like, well, that sounds consistent because I don't know shit from fuck.
Yeah, and I was like, yeah, that's Nazi shit, and of course it was confirmed. He is in fact a Nazi.
So are they sending him to the Hague? Like, what the fuck?
The Speaker of the House. Okay, yeah, that was Trudeau's quote about the hate march. Here, sorry. Go back here for a second until I find the right screen.
Yeah, see, like...
Speaker of the House Anthony Rota says the decision to invite Ukrainian veteran who served in a Nazi military unit in World War II to Zelensky's speech was entirely his own. I particularly want to extend my deepest apologies to Jewish communities in Canada and around the world, on the eve of Yom Kippur, no the less. Extra savory for Jewish Canadians. So yeah, he gave this speech where he's like saying, I recognize that I fucked up, but he's not resigning. To me, this is resignation worthy, absolutely. To invite a actual Nazi to be applauded by the Ukrainian Prime Minister that we're currently funding in a war, without much, stipulations on how that money is and weapons are being used and who it's going to, not actively dismantling the Azov battalion and questions remaining about that. So that whole problem, right? And then inviting this guy to be clapped for by them. And of course, Polyev has already on Twitter tried to seize this politically. And it's like, buddy, you were clapping in that room too.
Yeah.
You didn't know shit from fuck either.
Yeah.
I am willing to forgive everyone in that room if they had no idea prior who that guy was in the fact that he was a Nazi. There's a ton of plausible deniability in there. But you have this one guy who is admitting to it, even if he's just a bagman. Like he's taken the fall for somebody else, maybe Justin Trudeau, secret Nazi, whatever. Like I find that hard to believe, but but either way, whatever.
Yeah.
He's taken the fall for him. You don't resign?
Like
You don't resign.
that's
Really?
that's a big old whoopsie doodle.
Yeah.
Like that's a massive whoopsie doodle. And just honestly, that begs the question: how do they vet people who
Yeah.
go in there?
Oh, what? He's a war hero, eh? Yeah, I wonder what battalion he fought in.
Like, guys, like there's no vetting
yeah, not gonna-
whatsoever. Like, how do you know? Like, yeah, he's Ukrainian. Like, how? Just questions.
Well, he's
Questions
a World
abound.
War II vet. How could he be a bad guy? All of them were good guys. All the ones I met were good guys. I don't know who else you could be talking about.
Yeah, like this is anyway. I think we should end off on a hilarious note.
And what's that?
NFTs are worthless.
Oh yes, yeah. The new report that apparently came out that NFTs are worthless.
Yeah.
Oh, my
like-
monkey picture. Blue, blue, blue.
All my apes gone.
Yeah, like, buddy.
Like this entire thing has been stupid as shit right
Yeah,
from the
it's
get-go.
so-
Anybody with 2 brain cells to rub together could see it was stupid as shit.
Yeah.
The other people with 2 brain cells to rub together who didn't, they just didn't want to see that, and they
Or
got
they
they
used
got
it
at
to
the top of the
grift.
pyramid and used it to grift everybody underneath them.
Yeah.
Good for you, I guess. Fucking weirdos.
Yeah.
I like, if it was only rich people that were being ripped off by this, I'd probably have a lot less problem. But you've duped a lot of people. Kids saving up their fucking allowance. Shit like that.
Yeah.
You just duped a bunch of nerds to believe in fluffing nonsense.
Yeah.
And oh god. So yeah, watching the whole thing come crumbling down and having that "I told you so" moment. Yeah, it's pretty funny.
Yeah.
Schadenfreude.
Yeah. So anywho, I think we should end on that note of funny, hilarious things that are stupid.
Anthony Rhoda, fucking resign, man. Same way with you,
Little-
Doug Ford. I've said this so many times on this show over the 3
Yeah.
years we've been doing this.
Yeah.
Doug Ford should absolutely resign because he's
Yeah.
once again done something else insanely criminal.
Yeah.
This time so obvious that the RCMP is investigating it.
Yeah. Like,
Right?
boof your own butt, buddy.
Yeah,
like, get the fuck out of here.
So Anthony Rhoda, House Speaker, fuck off.
Yeah.
Doug Ford, fuck off.
Yeah. 1 million mom marchers.
Yeah,
Fuck your own faces.
yeah.
Piss off.
Moms for Liberty Canadian edition can
Yeah.
go fuck off too.
Yeah.
Yeah, and oh, by the way, watch out for those school board elections. You know that's what they're gunning for. These far right morons
Yeah.
are trying to get in on local government level. I mean, they've been trying to do that for years, but stay vigilant, folks, because they're really trying for it. So yeah, don't let that happen. Gonna put on the old theme music to play us out here.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for watching. I think we'll be back next week. Next week is not Canadian Thanksgiving, is it?
No, it's the one after.
It's the one after. Okay, so we will be back next week then.
Yeah.
We won't Thanksgiving. We'll be taking that weekend off. Yeah. Till then,
Fuck your own face, everybody.
stay rough. Don't tell people to fuck their own face. I don't know if we can get in trouble on YouTube for that. Stay